It's weird, right? Like, the things we stress about most are usually the things we have, like, zero control over.
Yeah.
And online privacy. Total example.
Yeah.
You sent over this article, and the title alone, you have zero privacy. Anyway, get over it, I mean.
It's provocative.
It's, like, straight to the point.
Yeah.
And honestly, who hasn't freaked out just a little bit thinking about where all their data goes,
Totally.
But this paper doesn't mess around. Jumps right in.
Yeah.
So are we really headed to a world with no privacy? And if we are, then what? What do we even do about it?
Big questions.
Big questions. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Our guides for this whole thing are academics, Andréa Belliger and David J. Krieger. And they really get into it, starting with a quote that's like infamous in the tech world. 1999, Scott McNealy, he was the CEO of Sun Microsystems back then.
Okay.
He's talking to all these journalists and just drops, "You have zero privacy anyway. Get over it."
Wow.
Right. And whether that makes you want to, like, throw your phone away or scream, "Finally!" from the rooftops, you got to admit the statement has aged.
It's aged.
Like a fine wine.
Or milk.
Or milk that's been in the sun a little too long.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about Belliger and Krieger's work, though, is they're not hung up on whether McNealy was right or wrong back then. It's more like they're hitting fast forward to now.
Right.
Like, we are swimming in data now. So what does his statement even mean in a world that's this connected?
That is such a good point, because even if you're, like, super careful with your own data, the whole system is...
The system is the issue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So according to them, why is privacy? It's like it's slipping through our fingers.
It really is. Like trying to hold on to sand.
Yes, exactly.
Well, they make a pretty strong case, and they talk about how the digital world has changed in ways that make privacy, the old ideas of privacy.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're silly now.
Okay, lay it on me. What are their arguments?
Well, first, they go straight for the big problem.
Okay.
Data breaches.
Right.
It's not even if it will happen anymore, it's when.
Oh, for sure.
And we think about our own little bubble, but
every day.
There it is, another headline.
Every day.
Governments, huge companies, even the tech companies themselves.
Yeah.
No one's safe. And the scary part is, Belliger and Krieger say those big breaches we hear about, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Which is terrifying, because if that's what's, like, public, what's hidden,
exactly.
It's a lot. It's a lot to think about. But hacking is just one thing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They talk about how much data is collected legally.
Oh, right.
Like, it's wild. They talk about data brokers.
Yeah.
Companies like Axiom. They're out there saying they have thousands of data points on every single person.
It's crazy.
And remember Cambridge Analytica?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't just a random thing. That showed us, how much these companies are really collecting.
Yeah.
And how they can use it.
Right.
And think about all those forms, right? At the doctor, getting a loan, even like a store discount card. It's everywhere.
It all adds up. It's like all those little pieces are building this whole picture of you.
A digital you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Even with all that, Belliger and Krieger say the biggest reason privacy is, it's almost gone.
No.
Is us.
Us. Wait, really?
Yeah, we're giving it up.
All the time.
Constantly.
It's true. We say it matters, but then it's like, accept all cookies, click.
Exactly.
We're hooked.
We love it. The convenience. It knows what you want.
I mean, I love it when Spotify's like, here's that song you haven't heard in 10 years but secretly love.
Right.
But, I mean, what are we giving up for that?
And that's the question. That's what Belliger and Krieger want us to think about.
Yeah.
It's not even about being careful with your information anymore. It's that the whole thing, the whole system we're in, it's built on sharing.
So we're in this digital river, and it's just flowing.
It really is.
No stopping it. So where does that leave us? Like, is there even any point in trying to hold on to privacy at all?
See, and that's where this gets really interesting, because Belliger and Krieger, they argue this online world, it hasn't just changed how we act, it's changed reality.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, we've gone through the looking glass, right?
Well,
it's a whole different world, different rules.
All right, you're making me think. So what are the rules in this new digital world?
So they use this concept. It's from a book, Too Big to Know, by David Weinberger.
Okay.
And he talks about how information, it used to be like a pyramid,
Okay.
Experts on top, institutions, they decided what mattered, what we knew.
Right, like gatekeepers.
Yeah. And it was, I don't know, orderly.
Right.
But then, internet
smashes it all up.
Exactly. It's a million pieces.
So, no more gatekeepers.
What?
No more just trusting the people at the top. I mean, that could be good, right?
For sure. It's a good side and a bad side.
Okay.
Like, yeah, knowledge is way more open. Anyone can see stuff, share what they think.
Yeah.
But there's no filter anymore.
Oh, right.
So it's hard to know, is this right? Is this biased? Is it just totally wrong? You don't know.
And everyone's got their own little corner of the internet shouting their truth.
Exactly.
No wonder we end up in these echo chambers, filter bubbles. Like, we all think we're living in different realities.
Which is part of why Belliger and Krieger are doing this, I think. They want us to really rethink this whole privacy thing.
Because if what we believe, what we think is true, if that's always changing,
yeah,
how can anything be private?
Exactly.
It's like the ground is always moving under our feet.
Always moving.
And it's not just us, right? It's not just how we experience it.
Yeah.
What about organizations?
Oh, right. Belliger and Krieger talk about that, too.
Yeah. How's the internet messing with them?
So it's like, remember the pyramid? They say organizations. It's a similar thing.
Okay.
They call it moving from bureaucracy to networks.
Networks.
Those old ways of doing things, top down, they're breaking down, becoming more, I don't know, fluid.
Okay, so like less rigid.
Yes, exactly.
And that probably comes with its own problems.
Yeah.
Because if information is decentralized, moving all over the place, how do you control it?
And that is where it gets really wild. They have this idea. The informational self.
The informational self. Okay, hit me.
Right.
What is that?
So think of it this way. It's not just that we leave these digital footprints.
Right.
It's that all those little bits, they become something bigger. Not just a record, but part of you. Like your identity.
So it's not just that I shop online. It's what I buy, when. It's all that data about the choices I make.
Yeah.
Not just that I post pictures, but who's in them, where I was. It's like it all gets woven together.
Exactly. It's like this tapestry of you online.
Right.
And it blends together, the real you, the digital you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins.
And that tapestry, it's always changing.
Always being woven and rewoven, shared.
It's a lot. And if privacy, like the old way we thought about it, if that's gone, what do we even do? Just give up. Like, here's all my data, internet, do what you want.
Well, Belliger and Krieger, they wouldn't say to just give up.
Okay.
They actually have a pretty different idea. But to get it, we got to dig a little deeper into like the core of what's going on here.
So the internet, it's a wild west of information out there.
It really is.
But Belliger and Krieger, they're not just going to let it run wild, right? They have this other idea. Instead of privacy, network policy governance. I mean, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. So break it down. What are they talking about?
It's like this. What if we're thinking about this whole data ownership thing?
Yeah.
What if it's not about protecting our own stuff?
Okay.
What if it's more like information wants to move around?
Right.
It wants to flow.
Yeah.
And in this world, online, it's all connected anyway.
So it's not my data, your data. It's all just out there.
Kind of, yeah. It's more like a shared thing. Like, think of a park.
Okay.
Or a library. We share those. But there are rules, right?
Okay.
Not to keep you out, but to make sure they work for everyone.
So it's like, not my data,
Yeah.
not your data.
Yeah.
Our data.
Our data, yeah. Like a digital commons. A digital commons that we have to, like, take care of.
Yes, exactly. But just like that park or library, we need rules for how it works and someone to make sure those rules are followed.
Okay, so less about secrecy, more about all of us being responsible.
Exactly.
Less about me controlling my little bit, and more about everyone working together.
That's the idea.
To figure out the rules of the game.
They admit it's a big change, a totally different way of thinking about it. We have to move past that old idea of privacy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you.
Yeah.
But they think it's important, essential, really, to deal with all this.
This whole information everywhere world, our real lives, our digital lives, all blending together.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. We started with my data is lost in the wind, and now it's data is a shared resource. We have to manage it ethically, together.
It's a whole new way of thinking about it.
It really is. So, listener, as you're out there in this digital world, ask yourself, what does that mean? Publicly. What if we embrace that?
Yeah, what would you change?
Would you change how you act online, what you share? How do we balance all the good stuff?
Because there's so much good.
So much. Connection, information. How do we balance that with doing the right thing with data? It's a tough one.
Not easy.
But even thinking about it, asking those questions, that's where it starts.
It does. Maybe.
Just is. If we all shift our thinking, we can make a digital world that works for everyone.